can cheer. But if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll start down here with Dan, just with your opening statement, 2 minutes long.
I'm Dan Jesse. I'm a resident of Clyde for about the last 26 or 7 years. Married a lady who is from Haywood County. My wife's name's Mary. She's born and raised here. I was not. I am an import, if you will, from the Midwest. And I have found that if you move from north of that line, no matter how long you are here, you are still born north of that line. So I have found that out. But I have lived in North Carolina and Clyde for more than I lived in the other places that I've lived in my life. I'm a graduate of Miami of Ohio University. I've got a pulp and paper science degree. I work at the Evergreen packaging plant in Canton. I work in a technical environment. It's kind of chemical engineering for the paper industry. That's the best way to describe it. But I've held a host of different jobs in that 35 years that I have worked at that facility. I was approached back earlier in the summer when Carol Meese, who was an alderman for the town of Clyde, passed away, and I was asked to fill that role on the board in his stead. And after much thought and prodding from several folks, I took upon the challenge of serving on the town board, and have really learned a lot about what it takes to run a small community like this. And for those of you that have never participated in that, I might encourage you to do that at some point, because you get a little bit better feel for what it takes to have a police department and a street department and keep the roads clean and keep your community progressing, if you will. So.
Thank you very much. And 2 minutes begins now for Frank.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Frank Lay. My wife, Stephanie, my son, Alec, and Cal in the back. If you see a little one running around, that's my little boy. We are fairly recent to living in the city limits, the town area of Clyde. In the past, I lived between Clyde and Lake Junaluska, there for about 5 years. Then in western North Carolina for about 20 years. I was born and raised in eastern North Carolina. I am an attorney. I have a law office, a practice here in Waynesville that my wife manages with me, and an office in Silva. Do primarily criminal defense work in those types of areas. Do some domestic work as well. I started out before that as an assistant district attorney under Charles Hibbs for about 8 years there, and then before that I was worked in the DA's office down in Chapel Hill. So originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I am the newest member of the town board here. This summer I was appointed to that position, have truly enjoyed the learning experience, and it has very much been a learning experience as we work through the budgetary things and those type of issues. Kind of the personal issues that are very interesting but great to me is we are extremely fortunate in this town to have, and I work with every town, county, and local law enforcement agency in western North Carolina, to have the very best chief of police in western North Carolina. Working with the police department is a real exciting part of what I'm looking forward to getting more opportunity to work and do with. So we've got a great chief. We've got some tremendous potential. Security in our community is one of the big issues that I look at. I've kind of got three things of my great personal interest. One being security for the town, the safety of our citizens, the people in their homes and those places. Secondly, kind of a great interest to me is the parks and those areas. Of course, having a family. We've got some parks now. I'd like to see us do some additional work in those to fix those areas up and have some playgrounds, kids, and places to gather. And of course, we'll talk about some of those other issues. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Frank. And rolling on down to James.
All right.
And it, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank the Mountaineer for putting this on. We are real happy to have y'all back for the exposure that you've given us, and just a good feeling about you guys. I'm married to Joyce Meisner. I'm James Meisner, married to Joyce, and we've lived in this town for 31 years. And I'll tell you what, I've been on the board for 11 years, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. We had floods in 2004, and that's when it really started. That's when the meeting started, and we're back up now to about where we were before the floods, and we're So we worked together, and we had a real good board, and we all worked good together. And we appreciate what everybody's done for us. The Methodists and the Baptists helped us get all this thing going back. And they done good. If it hadn't been for them, we wouldn't have made it. But we're thankful for them. And I want to job some more. I'm not through yet. I want to work some more. So I'd like the people to vote for me for one more time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. And you ready, ma'am?
I'm ready.
Melanie, your turn.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Melanie Michelle Cochran, and I want to be your new Clyde Alderman. I was born and raised here in Clyde, North Carolina, and I'm proud to call North Carolina and Clyde my hometown. I went to the old Clyde school, the same one which my grandparents attended when they were young. I'm a graduate of Western Carolina University, and my major is in sociology. Once graduating from college, I worked in the dental field for 12 years. Then I worked for Haywood County Department of Social Services for 2.5 years, and now back in the dental field with Smoky Mountain Dentistry. I've had the opportunity to meet and work with several diverse groups of people. I was born to serve and love serving the community. I am hardworking and dedicated to every project that is set before me. One reason why I'm running for Clyde Alderman is because there is always room for growth. I support our small town businesses and would like to see them continue to grow. I feel strongly that the people of Clyde deserve to hear their voices to be heard. And if you want a voice for Clyde, you can count on me. I'm Melanie Cochran, and I would like to be your new Clyde Alderman.
Thank you very much, Melanie. That was very nice, everyone. So I just want to remind you, we're not going to go in the same order because we don't want one person to have to answer first. So we'll just, since this is the first question, we'll start down at the end. This isn't anything too tricky. I don't think these are too tricky. I think all of you will feel comfortable with these questions. But we'll just start down here again. You guys will have 90 seconds for each question. You don't have to fill the full 90 seconds. If you feel like your message is out there and you're finished, then you're finished. If you have a lot to say and you see the red or the yellow and the red go up, try to stick to that time limit. Because we will have to cut you off at some point, but we'll let you finish your thought, of course, once the red sign goes up. So first question, we'll start down here with Dan again. Why are you running for alderman, and what do you hope to accomplish during your tenure? 90 seconds.
The reason I'm running for the Board of Aldermen is I feel like I was approached by the community to serve in this role. I've been here for 4 or 5 months. I have a feel for what is being asked of the town Board of Aldermen. One of the things that I like about the town of Clyde is I grew up in a small area. This is a small town community. I think there's a lot of home feel to the town of Clyde, and I'd like to retain that. And I think there are some things that the town does that are very, very good, and I would like to keep those going forward. I think we also have an opportunity here, given that we are a bedroom community between, kind of in the center of this community, we're right off the interstate, where the appearance of the town of Clyde, ought to be one of our focuses, because as people come off the interstate and do whatever they do, whether they go east or they go west, it doesn't matter. It'd be nice for them to see Clyde as a nice, pleasant community that sits here in the middle of this county. But the primary reason for my wishing to serve on this board is just that, to serve the community of the town of Clyde. I think I've got a lot of exposure in my business life that I can bring to the table here as an alderman for the town of Clyde.
Fantastic, thank you. And we'll switch things up a little bit. We'll come on down to Melanie, and we'll ask you the same question. Why are you running, and what do you hope to accomplish? 90 seconds.
Okay. I would like to see more growth in the town of Clyde. I would like to see more curb appeal. I feel that Clyde is right now kind of a drive-through town. I would like to see more. We have great parks, and I would like to see more playground equipment for the families. instead of them going to Canton or Waynesville with their children. Those are some areas I would like to fulfill as alderman.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And then we'll head back down here to Frank. Why are you running? What do you have to accomplish? 90 seconds.
Well, to me, the job here is very much akin to one I've done in the past, and that was serving as a deacon in the church. And it was a thing where it was explained to me by the pastor at that time that deacon stands for and it means to be a servant to the people, the church, to the Christians in the Baptist church. And that was very much a part of it for me there. And I think it's very much the same thing here. Though I have certainly some projects and ideas that I enjoy and I'm very interested and want to see worked on for the town. The simple reality is that in the end, the most important thing is about what the people of the town want, what it is that our citizens are concerned about, their interests, their issues, those things we need to work on the most. And so I very much want to bring, I have the background having worked in the law in those areas, and so much of what we deals with those issues. And one of the big issues I think we're facing now as a town, not just our town, but all towns across this area, is where the state has kind of come in and trying to take away a lot of our rights to govern the issues that affect this town. And we've had some pretty major recent decisions in the courts, in the federal courts, and with the FCC that have said the states have to back off. They've got to give more rights to the individual towns. And I think that's essential because it's our ability at this level to know our people, to understand the issues that affect this town that they just don't understand them. And I think that's why we have local government. And so I think I certainly can bring some of that background in the law to that, and I want to work in those areas to help make our community better. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. James, why are you running and what do you hope to accomplish?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it, but I'm a senior citizen. And I've been on this board for 11 years. We have held our tax rate the same since I've been on the board. But we've got a lot of people here that's like myself on fixed income. We've got to watch every dime we spend because us senior citizens can't go out and pay extra for what we're living on our Social Security. We want to keep it like that. We want to save every dime we can. And this is a tight board, I'll tell you that right now. We'll argue over a $20 bill. And we've done a good job, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Great. Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
Okay, and just to let you know, we have 5 questions total. The next question, we will start down here with Frank. What role do you believe a town alderman can play in building a better community?
Oh, I think, since we say that role is service, and our duty there is to reflect what the interests of the community are, it's absolutely essential that, we really need to take, each of our folks in town have very busy lives. They have children, they have work, they have obligations, and it's our job to take and help them through what we can in terms of coming up with different ideas and programs and plans to organize the community to do things. There's so many opportunities that we have in our town because, we talk about our assets, we talk about the budget and all those things, but we really truly have to recognize that the greatest asset this town here has nothing to do with the buildings or the money or the bank accounts or any of those things. It's our people. It's the people that make up this town, that make up this community, that take pride in where we live. It is when we came over here looking for a home and where we wanted to be, we were here just a short time and got to meet people and come around, and it was a completely different experience than we had when we lived before close to Lake Juneluska. And that's when we knew this was our forever home. And so it's very much a part of my mind that that's my job, is to help reflect the issues and concerns that people in this town have and to help drive some positive changes, some things that we can do to make things better. We have wonderful experience on the board. The mayor and James, those guys are wonderful. Dan and I bring a little younger side to it, and I think it's a good mix.
Thank you very much, Frank. Same question goes over to Dan. What role do you believe a town alderman can play in building a better community?
I think some of our job is to create a vision of what we want the town to be. Not that the town's been here since a long time, 1887, and so you hate to say what do you want to do, what do you want to be when you grow up. But I think as a town you continually grow, and we challenge ourselves as a board to keep in step with those challenges, whether it be people have mentioned parks or curb appeal, But I think those are things that are important, and I think as a board, that's what we have to do is create that overarching picture of what it is that we want the town to look like and be like for the citizens of the town. I know James says we fight over a $20 bill, but I also know that I'm still working on it. But we do want to take that budget and be serious about it, but at the same time, make people proud of what we do with the town of Clyde's money when we, whether it's put up, ornamentation around the town, things that bring community pride to the table. So that's what I think the Board of Aldermen really ultimately do.
Great, thank you, Dan. We're going to come on down to James. Same question. What role do you think town alderman can play in building a better community?
An alderman or town mayor or whatever is on the board, we have to partner with a lot of other people, such as Haywood Waterways. They're a good partner for us. They're Clyde's full of water, the big river, plus we get our drinking water from the rivers too, so we've got to watch that real much. And other things with the transportation board and several different committees that we're on that we need to partner with. And I think if we're good partners with these people, then we get the benefits that their expertise. And we're thankful for it.
Great. Thank you, James. Melanie, same question. What role do you believe town alderman can play in building a better community?
I believe aldermen can play a huge role in building a better community. Just doing a little bit of footwork that I've done, going to businesses and to houses, there are several people that are interested in voicing their opinions at the town hall meetings. Our town hall meetings are held once a month at 3 o'clock. Most of the working people cannot come to those meetings without asking off from work. I think that's a very big issue, and I want community participation. I want to hear what the working people want to say to better our community. So I believe getting out there and participating with the community and listening to what they need would make this town a lot better.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right. So this question is, I guess we're going to separate this question. For the incumbents, during your tenure, what do you classify as the board's biggest accomplishment that you helped lead? And we'll start with James.
Well, I think the biggest thing we've accomplished is the floods. We're back forward. We got 2 parks out of it, and this money is somebody was going to get it, so we applied for it, and it could have gone to Hong Kong or somewhere, but it ended up in Clyde, and we worked real hard to get that and get these things back in place. And I'm just happy with what we've accomplished, and we're still working on it, and we're going to keep working on it. We won't let you down, but we're thankful for every citizen we've got. They've done a fantastic job with working with us, and we're so thankful for them. We won't take care of that.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. And so we'll ask a challenger question. We'll go with Melanie. If elected, what issue would you most like to be known for spearheading, and how would you go about accomplishing it?
I would like to be probably the Parks and Rec person. We have 3 parks. Of course, there's no signs pointing you to the parks, but we do have 3. The old park, the park you set and have birthdays at, and then the new park by the river. It's an excellent place for families. It does, however, need to have more playgrounds for the children. I would like to even see it grow as far as to have maybe events on the weekend, such as Canton has Kicking in the Park, and kind of get the community together as a family and watch the town grow that way.
Okay. Thank you very much. And We'll go on over to Frank next. Same question.
Well, let's see. Let me think back over the last 4 months I've been on. Perhaps mine might be better toward the idea of what I want to do, because I'm still very new into this in the town. I agree completely with Melanie. The parks are a huge issue. We definitely want to have an area set up nice with a playground, create good security in that, do some monitoring there so the families will feel safe in the community. That's a big issue, I think, because it allows people to come together on weekends and spend their time in there. I would love to see us something toward along our beautiful river that has been both good and bad to us. A nice river walk along the river that would allow us to get out and walk and ride bikes, and I think create a nice, safe place for that purpose. Another big area of interest to me is really high-speed internet access to all families in our community. It's an area that in the past was not something we could do because the legislature in Raleigh did not allow that, but the government's fixed that now. They can't stop us now. So the towns now have the opportunity there, and I really believe, now I don't know, for me as a parent struggling sometimes helping my kids, my 15-year-old, my 12-year-old with their schoolwork, it's often they're showing me this stuff, and I remember how I did it, and of course that many years ago we do it very differently than they do now. They do it completely differently. And so often for me it's looking on the internet and finding ways to both help my kids and to help me get understanding of what it is they're doing and how to do that. So I think that high-speed internet access to all the homes, it creates a situation where it helps us both helping our kids, teaching our kids, educating them, work opportunities it presents. It really gives us a lot of opportunities, and we now have with this new law that's come out a great opportunity to work in that. So that's something I'm very interested in for this town, for our people.
Thank you very much. Down to Dan.
I think I'm much like Frank. Only having been serving on the board for 6 months, I think some of it there is a learning curve you go through. There's a lot of history, a lot of legacy that's behind some of the things that have happened. But I think some of the things that I'm most proud of the 6 months that I have served on this board is we advanced the town of Clyde. We're in the process of starting some advancement of our water system, integrity of the system, as well as the metering thereof. We buy our water from Lake Junaluska Sanitation District, and there's some issues there that we're working through. But I think infrastructure, we continue to look at roads, and maintain those and keep a list of things that make the community. If I live on a good road, I want Frank to live on a good road. I want everyone to have a good street that they live on. So I think those are the things that I would like to see leave as a legacy, is that the infrastructure of the community has been maintained and upgraded over time.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dan. All right. On to the next question. Do you think Clyde's budget can or should be changed in any way? We will start with Dan.
You always want more money, no question about it. And I think you got to have you're on a slippery slope when you say, we want to increase our budget, or you wish to do these things. I think part of that goes back to having that master plan for the community that says, here are the things that we want to do, whether it's a 1-year plan or a 5-year plan. It's immaterial, but you take your budget and you apply it across that window of time that you're looking at. I think, from my perspective, as someone new on that board and having gone through the budgeting process, I was surprised, to be quite honest with you, the amount of money that it takes to run the town of Clyde. I'll be quite honest, until I sat down and looked at what it takes to have a police department, and a water department, and a street department. It actually kind of took me by surprise. I didn't realize it was quite that. Yes, you have monies from the outside that come in. How you manage those monies is very important. Would I like to see the budget increase? Yes, but I think you got to do it in the confines of what the economy as a whole is doing. As was mentioned earlier, there's a lot of folks that are on fixed incomes. You can't just say, okay, we're going to put another 2 cents on your your taxation bill. So I think you got to be real cognizant of those types of things and listen to get a feel for what the community is willing to bear.
Thank you. We're going to just Go right next door to Frank.
Yes, ma'am. As Dan said, we just finished up working on the budget. It really is a very interesting experience to go through and look at that. Much like for me, the budget I do is running a business. You look at the complexity involved here. And there are some things I think we need to do. First and foremost is we've been talking with the town administrators about the idea of getting our budget online, so it's on our website so that our folks can peruse. We have a really excellent accounting group that comes over. When they do a presentation to us, they've gone through and get all the specifics. As you might imagine, the town police department is probably the largest portion of it, as it ought to be, because these guys work 24/7. They're out there all the time. And it's an area that I think we absolutely don't need to decrease. In fact, it's probably an area we need to look at potentially working some additional funds in there, because at its heart of those things is the safety and security of our folks, in their home, in their place, because without that in your home, there really is nothing. We'd like to get it out to the public where everybody can see it. I know it's difficult for folks to get here when we do our meetings, and it's an issue I think the board will be taking up and looking at different times. We may want to set meetings so more people can attend. We want that. But what we can do is get as much as we can on our website where folks can look at it, digest it, see our upcoming agendas, and see after our meetings what has occurred there. So all those things, and the budget is probably the most important portion of this, get that stuff online where people can look at it, talk to them about it, and see what issues we need to address.
Thank you. We'll go down to James. Same question. Do you think Clyde's budget can or should be changed in any way?
And I think we've got as good a staff as they are anywhere. Maintenance, or their office, and police, and all that. And we've got the budget. We sit down every year. The budget's something in the back of your mind all the time. But we sit down a day every year and have a wish list that we can come up with the money, but we'll work on that. But we've got this staff, and they deserve the best tools, whether it's a pencil or a new police vehicle. They need the best they can get for them to do their job and keep them as good as they are. And when I think about that all the time, and I watch, and they got to get their insurance and their good check, and we think about that. You worry about that budget all the time, and it would worry you to death if you just keep on and on. Sometimes you just have to go over to the park and walk around a little bit and say, well, I ain't going to think about that budget today. But you go back home and it's still we do think about it all the time, and we're concerned about it.
Thank you, James. Melanie, same question. Do you think Clyde's budget can or should be changed in any way?
Well, I just picked up a copy of the budget because I just received my city tax and wanted to see where my money was going. And it looks like it is being used very sparingly. It's being used very well. I think that raising the city tax would really hurt the people, especially with the economy the way it is right now. I believe if we need to raise money, we need to do it through grants and getting people together to raise the money, because it would just hurt Clyde more raising taxes on the working people.
Thank you, Melanie. Okay, so we have one more question before you each have the floor for your 3 minutes, if you wish, closing statement. So, last question we have here. We'll start with James. Okay. Economic development is an ongoing concern for most communities. What steps does Clyde need to take to grow its economic base?
We just need to maintain what we've got and do the best we can with the business and things that we've got that's going in our favor. Ain't a whole lot we do with the real estate that we have, that in the area we have is bigger than what it is. We have to work in a mini group, so but we just be constantly concerned if something opens up, grab it. So that's part.
Thank you, James. We'll go down to Dan. Would you like me to repeat the question for you?
I am.
Okay.
I think the biggest challenge we have is that we are the smallest community that sits between two larger communities, Waynesville and Canton. And I think some of the things that we have is ease of access for the town of Clyde. You're off the interstate. You can 2 stoplights.
We got one at the fire department.
Okay, well, I wouldn't call that a stop. That's a street sign, or a street light. Anyway, but I guess what I'm getting to is there are some opportunities that businesses like when it comes to that type of arrangement, where you're not having to fight, parking or traffic or things like that, that we might play to our advantage here in Clyde. However, what I view our community is not a business mecca by any stretch of the imagination. So therefore, when businesses wish to relocate here, or we have the opportunity to have a business come here, we welcome that. But I'm not sitting here telling you that there's going to be an active push out there to go enlist businesses to come to the town of Clyde. I think we have to be just a presentable community that people say, gosh, I'd like to have my office there or my business located there.
Thank you, Dan. We'll come down to Melanie. Economic development is an ongoing concern for most communities. What steps does Clyde need to take to grow its economic base?
Well, Clyde is a very small town. You can walk the town in just a few minutes. The businesses we have here are names I remember when I was little, Lils and Pals, and there's businesses that stay, and the buildings that were empty are filled. I don't foresee Clyde growing in leaps and bounds, but I do see more people move into the area just because it is a small town. You can hop on the interstate, get to Asheville if you're going to work that way, and be home. And that's one area I think it could grow.
Thank you. Frank.
Yes, ma'am.
Your turn, sir.
The last I checked, I checked on the computer, there were approximately 400 properties, be it residential homes, land, available in our area. So we've obviously got some room for growth, both commercially and residentially. We are obviously a logically well-suited place for people who want to live outside of the town, the bigger cities, but still have access to them. But because we are, as Dan says, easy access off the 4-lane down in this area, I think that our downtown growth is an important thing to focus on. There is some benefits to bringing. We're modernizing our water system. We've done good with our other aspects of the utilities that we provide. Working toward the internet, I think, would be another important thing for us, because all of those are services that we provide to businesses that might want to come in. I mean, for example, I can see with our workforce that we have available here, for example, call centers, some of those things, and now people are moving those from overseas more into cities. This would be a good opportunity in this area because you've got a workforce, easy to get to work back and forth, or right off the 4-lane, so there's some opportunities there. I think looking at all of those things, there are definitely some steps we can take to encourage business to come into the area, but also as a retirement thing. I looked online to look at some of the forums where people talk about, hey, I'm interested in coming to retire in either Hendersonville or heard about Clyde, what's good. And I read some of the responses, and it's a little disheartening because some of the folks say, oh, there's nothing there and there's nothing this or that. I think maybe that's just a misperception or a misunderstanding of what our town is all about, because there are many wonderful opportunities, because you have all the amenities of Haywood County here on this side, Buncombe County on the other side. What a nice small place to live. So I think we need to promote that too.
Thank you very much. It's now the time for the 3-minute closing. You don't have to take all 3 minutes. You can go up to 3 minutes. It's just a chance for you to summarize your election platform, anything else you want to put out there that you think people should know. And we'll start with Melanie.
Okay. My plan as alderman is to provide for the individual and community needs, to provide future growth and preserve the town's historical structures. I would like to see growth in the economic development. I do not want Clyde to be a drive-through town. I want Clyde to have curb appeal. I would like the town to decorate more throughout the seasons. Clyde has beautiful Christmas lights. However, what do we do about the other seasons? As for autumn, I vision harvest decorations, and this way giving Clyde to have maybe a fall festival. The families in Clyde need to have more to do here. Clyde is a wonderful big park. However, we need more playground equipment. This would eliminate families from going on to the Canton Park. I would even grow the park area into a weekend event such as picking in the park. I would like to see more community participation and more public input. With getting the community more involved, we could have river cleanups and more festivals. In order to accomplish this, signs need to be posted in front of the town hall of certain events to come, such as this forum, the flu clinic we just had, many people didn't know about. Not everyone, gets down and reads the Mountaineer. They can look at it on their phone and get the highlights. And not everyone reads the Clyde newsletter that goes out. I'd like for everyone's opinion to be heard. And the town hall meetings, of course, I said were held once a month at 3 o'clock. Thus making it hard for the working person to attend. I believe these meetings should be moved to the evenings where more of the community could attend. This change would create more public input. As alderman, I would fight to do what is right and good for the town of Clyde. My name is Melanie Cochran, and I would like your vote on November the 3rd.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
James?
Well, I'm glad you gave me 3 hours. I've got some, we've got some great speakers you ever seen. We got Sarah Bradley, we volunteers. We've got some of the volunteers that come in here and work. And in fact, Sarah's only, she got her own office back here. She stays, and she's got a group of volunteers that help. And we're so thankful for these people. And then we've got some people that we've lost. Floyd Brooks, Old Grouch, and Mr. Bucky Brown, his wife. They were great role models for us to look. And they would come and ask us to do things. And they were honest, and they would lead with us and what we needed to do, and we listened to them. We're just thankful for that people. And our staff, we've got the greatest staff in the world. These guys work hard. In fact, the best vote I ever made was getting Joey Garvin. That was one of my top accomplishments in this family. But I'm so proud of our group, and I want to close today.
Of course, she's sitting back there in the corner.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that. All right, we'll just go down the line and head over to Frank.
Thank you. Recently we had the town cleanup morning. We were out working, cleaning up, and I met a young lady who had moved here. She's actually in the audience with us today, moved here from Utah. And she and I were talking about it since we were both fairly new residents to the town. And we were talking about the town and the community. And I thought about how when I look on the internet and the numbers, it suggests that we've had negative growth in this town, people-wise, in the census changes. And that's disappointing to me because with what she and I were talking about, how wonderful it is to be here. And when my wife and I spent just a few hours looking at the home that we ended up buying here and meeting our neighbors and how wonderful everyone was, we quickly knew that this was our forever home. This is where we wanted to raise our kids. This is where my children will go to school. And so I think there are just so many wonderful opportunities of things that we can do in this town. And I so appreciate the opportunity I've had so far to serve as an alderman. Look forward to continuing in that role so that it won't just be me and you who come in here. It'll be all these other folks we can get. I want to see us counter that negative growth thing they talk about because there are many wonderful places here. There's great places to live and see, but I will tell you without question, even living as we did before here, Lake and Luster for the last 5 years, we just didn't find the warmth that we find here. The people weren't the way they are here. This community is a place where you can get to know the people, and it's a great place to live and work. Working with the town board folks, and I completely agree with what all these guys have said. I have been amazed and impressed with. I feel happy about the people I have working for me and in my business, and yet I look at the folks we have here, Joy, Sheila, Eric, these guys, the chief. We have fantastic people in this town. We have some amazing assets down here. If you're not sure, come down to the town hall, ask a question. You'll get to see we have amazing people working. It's been my real honor to work with them. So I thank you all for the opportunity. I'd love to talk to anyone about it. And if you continue to be on the board, we're on Hill Street, I'm available. Call me. We'll talk about any issues that we need to do for the town. We want to be here to serve to make it better. And that's hopefully what I can do in whatever way I possibly can. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Frank. Last but not least, Mr. Dan.
I do want to make one statement. My name is Dan with 2 N's, so people are confused about that. I'll give you my mother's phone number, and you can take that up with her. But it is spelled that. It's Dan straight up. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've lived in this community for about 27 years, and had choices when I moved into this community, and some of the reasons were some of the things I still see are the strengths of the town of Clyde. You're located in the central part of this county. You can get to Asheville if you want to, or if you need to. You don't have to. And that has not changed over my 27 years here. And I've enjoyed living in this community. Never really looked to participate in the government of the community. However, I feel like there are times in your life where we are all want to help people, serve people, and I think this has been an opportunity for me to do that, give back a little bit to the community that has embraced me. So, from my perspective, I've thoroughly enjoyed serving the town in this brief time, and look forward to continuing that. I think I bring some insight to the board, both from being not born and bred and raised here. Not that that's a bad thing, but I think I bring some insight from experiences that I've had elsewhere. I think also my business dealings with budget. I have a budget in my department that I have to maintain, and I fully understand when the angst of going over a budget or needing to go over a budget. There's times that's necessary, but then there's times when you shift things within a budget to make the budget work. And I understand all those aspects of it. So with that, I look forward to being reelected as a Board of Alderman member and serving the town of Clyde going forward.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you everyone for coming out, Board of Alderman candidates. We're going to take an intermission. If you'd like to just stretch your legs. It's going to be similar, different questions, same format. So we'll each start off with 2 minutes saying what you want to say to the audience and to people who watch online. Then we'll have 5 questions. You have 90 seconds for those 5 questions, and then we'll do a 3-minute closing. It doesn't have to be 3. Again, you don't have to fill all the time. You just put whatever you want out there that you think is necessary, and we'll just move on. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and start with Jerry for this very first question, or not first question. We'll start with you, sorry, for your intro.
I'm Jerry Walker, and I live on Smather Street in Clyde, which I've lived there about 40-some years, with my wife Joanne of 53 years, and I have a daughter that works and lives in Washington, D.C. Why, I don't know. But I graduated from Clyde High School in 1954. A few days later, I was in the Air Force, and I served 4 years in the Air Force. And after that, I went to work at Champion International, and I worked there for 41 years. While I was still on working at Champion, I served on the planning board, and in September of 1980, I was appointed to the Board of Aldermen, and that was 29 years before I was appointed as the mayor on September of 2004. That was 7 days before the first flood that tore our town all to pieces. And we had 2 floods at the same time. I take great pride in being the mayor of Clyde. I always have, and I always will. Our town government is a little different from what the town governments are in the rest of the county. We have a town administrator and a council government, and that means that the council has to do a whole lot more toward running the town than the manager-type governments does. We are very lucky to have a town administrator like Miss Joy Gard.
Thank you, Jerry. Cynthia? You have up to 2 minutes for your opening statements. And just a reminder, I'm sure you guys know this, but just throw it out there. The yellow means 10 seconds left, red means stop.
Good evening, my name is Cindy Golden, and I'm running for Clyde Mayor. I would start with a lot of history about myself, but I'm going to wait for closing to do that. Wanted to start off by first stating some of my goals that I would like to see as Clyde Mayor. With the assistance of the board and existing committees, I would like to create new avenues of income for Clyde. For the last 5 years, I've lived here with my husband and my 2 daughters, and sadly I've seen very little change or growth in Clyde, and that is what has motivated me to pursue running for mayor. I've been said a lot as to why are you running for mayor, and that is what has motivated me. I would like to invite new businesses into Clyde and improve the overall look of the town. I would like to broaden the means of communication between the citizens, the business owners, with the council members and mayor. This will take much research and will require being creative with the resources and budget that currently exists. One way to accomplish this would be to create venues that meet the needs of the various demographics of Clyde, the young, the middle-aged, the retired. We have a very broad demographic in Clyde. For example, one of the bigger ideas that I would love to see is, because of the movie theater moving out of Waynesville and the drive-in theaters have slowly started to just disappear, and yet that's an old pastime. I would love to see a drive-in theater, whether it be in Clyde or not, but somewhere in Haywood County, and be a part of bringing that. A selection of eateries in our downtown, not the large business food chains, but coffee shops, sandwich shops, even a donut shop somewhere along this, something that would bring more people to be able to sit around and enjoy each other's fellowship. I marvel at the small town feel of Clyde, and I would like to do everything I can to continue with that.
Thank you. You don't mind if I call you Jerry, do you? You don't mind if I call you? I can call you Jerry, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Definitely.
I want you to feel like I respect you. This is the first time I met you tonight, so. All right. So we'll go ahead and start with you.
Okay.
A mayor is often asked to attend regional forums, meetings, and events. At these events, they represent the town. What message would you bring to these gatherings about Clyde?
We do that right often. We have a Southwestern COG meeting every 6 weeks or so at Franklin, and everyone has the opportunity to state what they think that the towns need and the counties need. This is with the counties and the town, and we have a county COG meeting every so often, and each town gives their point of view, and each town listens to the other points of view in the town. It's a very nice thing to do, and we always attend, and we go to the League of Municipalities meetings, and it's a pretty busy job, just to tell you the honest truth. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll repeat the question for you, Cynthia. A mayor is often asked to attend regional forums, meetings, and events to represent the town. What message will you bring to these gatherings about Clyde?
I believe getting the word out there of what Clyde is, that the small town feel, that we're not just a town that is known for being a drive-through or having that, when I was growing up, it was the one red light town, and now the two with the caution light. But to get the word out that Clyde has something to offer to the community and to the region, that getting the word out on the internet of what Clyde has to offer. And so letting them know that we do have the small businesses and that small town feel, that we do have parks and recreations that they can come to and walk and just visit, and that everybody knows everybody, and the doors are open and welcome. That's what I believe that people should know.
Thank you. And I'm going to start with you again, 90 seconds. Next question. What type of economic development efforts will you help lead in Clyde, and how will you go about the process?
As some of the aldermen had mentioned, the Parks and Recreation, I believe, knowing that we have the 3 parks, not a lot of people are aware of where those parks are. And I believe that creating connected walkways that will allow means to reach those. I know River's Edge Park, you cannot access it except by car, of course. But creating the river walk that Mr. Franklin had mentioned, I think that would be one way to develop the economy more and the small businesses, encouraging more small businesses to come in and having resources for our business owners where they can share their histories, their testimonies of how they became a business and what information they would like to put out there for other businesses and maybe the small business owners, self-employed, the entrepreneurs who wish to have a storefront. How could they get in there?
Thank you, Cynthia. Jerry, same question. What type of economic development efforts will you help lead in Clyde, and how will you go about the process?
Like some of the aldermen said, we're kind of a bedroom city between Canton and Clyde, and it's been like that ever since I've been here, which is several years. I was born around here, and I don't see no major big development. I wouldn't want a major factory that would dirty up the town or anything, but I would be in favor of some economic development, stores, and maybe a good restaurant, and whatever they need to be, we'll try to work with them.
Thank you. We're moving right along. Jerry, we'll start with you. What is your opinion of the town's financial condition?
I think we're doing very well financially. We have a healthy fund balance, which is recommended by the state. We work to keep our tax rate at 43 cents per $100, and we have done that for several years because, like some of the aldermen said, we have older people and fixed income people, and we just don't want to put a burden on them. So we're going to try to run it as economically as we can, and we have a great staff to help us do that.
Thank you. Cynthia, what is your opinion of the town's financial condition?
Well, I just recently picked up the town budget, and I do believe that the standing of it is in good condition. I'm always for not just asking for more money, but looking for new and creative ways to create venues of money, income. And I believe that there are ways that we can do that aren't just asking for grants and money in that way, even though those are available and out there, but digging and researching for what we can get through those, but also creating different events and activities throughout Clyde that use any resources we already have to create more income, to help better fund the things that we would like to see done in Clyde.
Perfect. And speaking of the budget and money, we'll just flow right into the next question. We'll start with you, Cynthia. In Clyde's budget, do you see any specific areas where cost savings can be realized?
Well, like I said, just recently getting it and not being on the board, that will take research, and I know that some mentioned that being new, there's a learning curve to being on the board. So I think that if I was to be elected mayor, learning what those are and going further in depth in researching what those are and where we could not cut corners, but creating ways to create more money to fund the things that need to be funded.
Thank you, Cynthia. Same question for you, Jerry. In Clyde's budget, do you see any specific areas where cost savings can be realized?
We run a tight budget, and really and truly we have a budget workshop, and we go through everything. Everybody has an opportunity to say stuff, and we try to keep it as low as we can, and we work on grants all the time. In fact, I've got some grants here. We got a grant to purchase a Firecrest Ridge subdivision and build a road to put the water in and all that stuff. It took several trips to Raleigh to do that, and we run an 8-inch water line from the town of Canton to the end of Clyde, which ties into the Lake Junaluska, and they tie into Waynesville and Maggie Valley. So we've got a straight shot for water. We've done a lot of rehabilitation on our sewer system, and we're fixing to put radio read meters in. And the downtown project that we done after the flood was a hard thing to get, but we got it. Like they said, it could went to Hong Kong as far as that goes. But we moved a big gun, and we got a nice little place down there. It's not counted as a park, but it's used.
Thank you, Jerry. And this next question kind of goes along with all of that. It's the last question I have for the two of you before we do your 3-minute closing opportunity. Jerry, are there any additional services you would like to see the town provide? If so, how would you propose paying for them?
Well, that's a hard question. We do the best we can, and if we took on any more services, like, well, we are doing radio read water meters. That's a thing where you can get your, if you have a question about your water bill, we can pull it up on the computer, print it off, and hand it to you. And that's expensive, but we've got a 5-year plan to play for it. And that's one of the main projects right now, except we've got a sewer line that we're going to run, and we got a 50% grant on it, but we've got arrangements made to pay for the rest of it.
Thank you, Jerry. Cynthia, same question. I'll repeat it for you. Are there any additional services you would like to see the town provide? If so, how would you propose paying for them?
I believe that having the internet service available, getting that accessible to all of the citizens of Clyde, I think is a huge service that needs to be researched, further delved into. And I do know that requires more than just 1 or 2 people sitting at a table. That involves, Duke Energy and other the broadband providers. But I believe that is a way, that there is a way. Where there's a will, there is a way. So I believe looking at the budget and where money is being spent, and like I said, creating new ways to fund those. I believe another service would be the more events that would happen. That could be a means to creating revenue for the town. Fall festivals, inviting vendors to come in for those special events, and percentages being applied to the town fund.
Great, thank you, Cynthia. Last thing of the night. I know you're sad to see it end. We'll just go right back to Jerry. You have up to 3 minutes to make your closing statements. Anything you want to say?
As I run for another term of mayor, I plan to continue to work like I have been for the last 30-some years in this town, 11 years as mayor, and want to keep our tax rate low. It's one of the lowest in the county. It's 43 cents per 100 valuation, and I'd like to provide the citizens of Clyde with the best service possible, and it's been an honor for me to serve on the board and as the mayor for the last 30-some years, 35 years.
Thank you, Jerry. Cynthia, you have up to 3 minutes.
Just a little about myself. I am a Hayward County native. Growing up, I lived in Canton, Clyde, Bethel, Waynesville, Hazelwood. I've lived a little bit everywhere in Hayward County. I graduated from Pisgah High School. I have an associate's degree in teaching and have almost completed my master's in theology. I've served in leadership at my church for over 10 years and have had the blessed opportunity to minister to children, youth, women, men, and have birthed and overseen many events. I also have been fortunate enough to serve on the mission field, twice to Nicaragua and once to Scotland. Knowing that one of the legends of how Clyde got its name is from a man who lived along the Clyde River in Scotland who moved to the area because it reminded him of his home. That's what got the name Clyde. It was a great privilege to go to Scotland and be able to walk along the banks of the River Clyde. And it does have its similarities. As I mentioned, I've lived here for 5 years with my husband and 2 daughters. 2010, we were blessed to work with Habitat in building our home in the community of Barefoot Ridge. And since then, I have volunteered with Habitat as a family partner to help other families become homeowners. I've homeschooled both of my daughters. They're both here tonight. And I have served as vice president, secretary, and currently the treasurer of the Haywood County Home Educators. I'm also the co-president of the Homeowners Association where I live. I've been told that when you see a problem, that to be ready to have a solution and it means to put feet to it. I'm a go-getter, and when I thought of ideas that I could see improve the town of Clyde, I knew that there was a town meeting, but one of the disappointments was knowing that I couldn't attend them because they were at 3 p.m. And for our working class, that is an inconvenience to have to ask off to come to a town meeting. That is something that I would like to see change. I have gone around to the business owners, and that is one of the biggest things that they had said, because a lot of our business owners are not, they don't live inside the city limits of Clyde. They don't have the means to vote in our municipal elections. So their voice can be heard, but they can't access the meetings. They can't get here in order for them to have a platform to voice their concerns and suggestions and be part of the decision making. And so I think that that would be a great plus to the town of Clyde, since the business owners are the backbone of Clyde here in the small little bitty town rectangle. It's like a town square. I feel that it's time for a new face and a new voice for Clyde, and for the rising generation and the growing population of Clyde, of the new families seeking a place to retire or start a business, and with young kids, therefore, with parks and recreation. As mayor, I will not dismiss the vision of the leaders before me, but review and research and revise and move forward with a fresh perspective and new vision. My desire is to stand on the ceiling that has been built by past leaders and take it to new heights. Clyde's not just another town to me, it's home.
Thank you, Cynthia. And thank you, everyone, so much for coming out tonight on behalf of the Mountaineer.